You cheated. Now what? Your partner's trying to figure out, are they going to stay or are they going to go? What do you need to do on your end as the partner who stepped out? First and foremost, you have to take full accountability and responsibility for your actions. This does not sound like, well, I cheated, but you weren't doing this. I cheated, but this was happening. We do want to understand why it happened, but that is not part of this accountability. You were the one who chose to step out of the relationship. You engaged in those actions, and you have to own it, no matter what the reason was. This sounds like, I cheated. I did it. I made decisions, and I'm going to try to understand why I did it, what happened, and be able to work on those things so it doesn't happen again. I know this can be a hard step to really own what you did, because it means you have to take a hard look at your actions. You have to face that you did those things that were hurtful to your partner, or maybe went against your own values and beliefs about yourself. But that is an important piece of the work, to be able to sit in those difficult emotions, to understand what was really happening for you, to be able to sit with your partner in the pain that they're experiencing. You really have to deep dive into the vulnerable underlying reason that you stepped out of the relationship. It's not enough to stay just in the content. It's not enough to say, I felt scared I was going to be abandoned, or I didn't feel desired. That's a great place to start, but we have to go way deeper than that to understand why this happened. Understanding the why is really important in rebuilding trust, because it tells your partner, if I understand why this happened, we can put things in place to address that, to decrease the likelihood that it's going to happen again, which helps me build trust in this relationship. So we need to understand, why did you step out of the relationship? Why were you feeling those things in your relationship? Why weren't you able to communicate those with your partner? Or if you feel like you did, why didn't they land? Why weren't you able to turn to a different coping skill? What were you getting from the infidelity or the affair? How was it serving you? These are all questions we need to answer. And they're layered. It's going to take some time of figuring out, what is the real underlying reason? It's like peeling an onion. You're going to go a layer at a time until we get deeper and deeper and really understand it. You have to answer your partner's questions honestly. And I know this can be incredibly challenging, because you know the information you're going to share with your partner is probably going to hurt them or upset them. And that makes sense. The things you're saying are hard to say and they're hard to hear, but it's part of the healing process. And the research really supports a one-time full disclosure rather than little drippings of information, which is what people tend to do. Some people call it trickle truthing, where here's a little bit of information and I hide this piece and then I share this piece. And when we do that trickle truthing, it can actually cause more trauma, because each time there's this reemergence of trauma, this fear that there's going to be something more, and it's difficult to rebuild trust. So it can be really helpful to share a one-time disclosure. And this is where it can be really beneficial to work with a therapist to help you guide you through this process. Not all questions are created equal, however. Some questions really help us heal and move forward. These tend to be questions that help us make sense of what happened, help us make meaning, help us understand what was going on in the relationship for the partner who stepped out. Those can be helpful questions. Doesn't mean they're easy to talk about, but they can be helpful in moving forward. There are also questions that can cause more harm than good, because they can create more trauma, they can invite comparison, and they're really more about questions that are in the weeds, the details, the specificities that don't really help us make meaning and move forward in healing. With that being said, it's not up to you as the unfaithful partner to decide what information is helpful or not helpful. Your partner has a right to ask questions and has a right to know this information to help them make sense of, do I stay or do I go? How do I feel about this relationship? This is why it can be really helpful to work with a therapist who can help you sort through these questions, because questions and information are such a key piece to healing, but there's also some landmines in there that can really cause some harm. It's all about sorting through what are the helpful, meaning-making, moving forward, understanding questions. Which ones are more based in detail, that are going to invite comparison and get us stuck. As the unfaithful partner, you have to hold vigilance for the infidelity. Your partner is probably feeling consumed and overwhelmed by thoughts and feelings and triggers around the infidelity. And you need to be able to hold that with them. And what that means is you are proactively checking in with them, asking them questions, sitting with them in their emotions so they're not alone. Not thinking, oh, I'm not going to bring this up. It seems like it's a good day or they're feeling well. I don't want to upset them. They're still thinking about it. It's still at the back of their mind. And when you bring it up, when you do that proactively, it actually helps create more trust and connection because they feel less alone in it. And they know you guys still have a lot of work to do. You have to create safety structures with your partner, especially in the first few weeks and months after the infidelity. And safety structures are things that are going to help your partner feel just a little bit safer. Their world has been completely shattered. Remember, you have been sitting with this infidelity for however much time it's been. They've just found out about it. Their world is completely different, and they're probably feeling really scared and vulnerable. So you guys have to work together to put some safety structures in place. So this is talking about how you guys want to handle access to phones or technology, checking in with each other, spending time together or apart, and knowing that this isn't something that's going to be for the rest of your relationship. Right now, you guys are in crisis, and we have to put some structures up in place to help you guys feel just a little bit safer. So don't worry so much about, is this healthy for the long term of our relationship? You guys are going to evolve and continue to adjust and check in. That's part of the healing about how you're feeling about these safety structures. But right now, what are just some small things that are going to help your partner feel just a tiny bit safer? Lastly, you have to go at your partner's pace. Healing from infidelity is a long process. And I see a lot of unfaithful partners start to get frustrated at the slow pace or that their partners are bringing up the same conversations or the same questions again. But that's how we process information. The facts don't necessarily change, but how we see them, how we understand them, how we make sense of them does. And that's why we have to go back and have conversations that we feel like we've had before or ask questions that we've asked before. So it's about you going at their pace, walking alongside them, not trying to drag them faster than they're ready to go, but being with them and knowing that this is a long process.